Hi guys, it's Becky and today I'm going to be reviewing Cinderella is Dead. I received this in return for a book tour on my blog, but I'm also posting a video as well. Cinderella is Dead is a kind of retelling slash sequel to Cinderella. It's based in a time where the fairy tales we grew up with are actually the history of this world. It's only a couple of generations different to the original Cinderella, and actually the original Cinderella is not the full story. I really enjoyed that this meant the story we know and love of Cinderella was actually the story told by the victor of history, and it's very similar to what you would expect from our own history books as well, where the victor has changed the narrative to show themselves in a more favourable light. The changes to the original tale were actually really fun. I really enjoyed how they were done and what was chosen to be changed and how. I don't want to go into too many spoilers to tell you what changed, but I really enjoyed that all the information that our main character got about these changes were from multiple sources of information, and it wasn't just an info dump at the beginning of the book or anything like that. But first, let's talk about the kind of villain of the story. I did not understand why he was going through with his plan. It seemed like a lot of effort for very little payoff for him, but because we were seeing it from the point of view of Sophia, we weren't really seeing what he was gaining from his plan. What I did like about the villain was the way he was portrayed, and as Sophia says, he is a monster, not a fool. And I loved that he was shown as a smart villain and he was really cunning, and him being defeated wasn't down to him being less capable, as a lot of villains are sometimes shown to be. And I really liked the actions he took throughout the book, as it seemed very clever and manipulative towards our main characters, but it made sense in the overall story, and I've really enjoyed the retelling of this character as well. Another switch up from the original story was the fairy godmother. The fairy godmother isn't all that she seems, and she might not even be a fairy godmother. She seems to have a secret past, which I was really intrigued to learn about and to know why she does the things she does. And she's the only real way for Constance and Sophia to find out more about the Cinderella story, and I really enjoyed how she told them and how she acted while she was with them, and overall I just enjoyed her character arc throughout, as I thought there was lots of twists and turns, and I just enjoyed her character as a whole. Moving on to our main character, she's a character that is not in the original tale at all. She's a completely new original character, and I enjoyed her take on the story, and I enjoyed the issues brought up of women in this kingdom, and how she doesn't want to marry before she's 20, and she doesn't want to only do what men tell her to do, and she wants to be able to talk freely and do what she wants with her life and be with who she wants to be with. And I really enjoyed all those aspects, but I don't understand how she was linked to the Cinderella story, and I don't understand why she was our main character over other characters such as Constance or Amina, who were much more interlinked with the original story, and therefore the villain of the book. She's also not the brightest character, so right at the beginning of the book she's kind of given an out to going to the ball and being chosen by a random man, and she doesn't take it, and then she acts surprised when the other person acts on this. And it seemed very obvious that he was offering her an out at the beginning and a way to be herself after they are courted at the ball. And yeah, she just doesn't seem to think things through, and I think that's another reason why I didn't like her as the main character, because she wasn't really thinking over what she was doing, and she wasn't really thinking what she was doing. Things just happened to her, and she happened to meet Constance at the right time and be pulled into this story of fighting back against the king. Even though she initially disliked him, I don't think she would have actually gone up against him if it wasn't for meeting Constance. Speaking of Constance, I really enjoyed her character, and I'm assuming she has a much bigger story to tell, and I'm hoping there might be some kind of sequel, whether that's to do with Constance or whether it's the other stepsisters in the original tale, as I believe they have a really good retelling of what they did after they left the kingdom. I just feel like Constance's family history and also the way she's been acting since kind of childhood, and how she's been acting against the king in the years leading up to the book would be really interesting to read about, as it's really the end of her story and the beginning of her becoming a stronger character, but I feel like we were still missing a lot of information that would have made us root for her even more. I really enjoyed the additional world building on top of the original tale. The little town and the large extravagant castle were great backdrops to a fantasy retelling. I liked that it was discussed that people can't leave the kingdom without the king's express permission, because that's one of the first questions you really think of, like, why don't these people just leave if they don't like what's happening in their kingdom? It's because they can't. And whilst it's, I guess, you question whether people really can't leave because you could always escape, I did like that it was included as an explanation, as it really fills that plot hole that you might have otherwise. There's also a mention of other kingdoms in this book, and they have similar stories to their history, and that's where there's like Sleeping Beauty and other fairy tales that we also grew up with. I enjoyed that there was kind of a switch up of the kingdom as to what we knew from the original tale as well, and even the history of Cinderella's house in the book, the king had actually changed the location over years to mean that the people of this kingdom can't even visit Cinderella's house anymore, as apparently it's a ruin in some other place instead. What I love most about this book is the way women are shown to be treated and how our characters fight against this. Women are to be seen and not heard, they are to be owned, and if you're not married before the age of 20, you are useless in this world. There's a lot of themes in this book where women are not able to speak out or defend themselves. They're often at the whims of their husbands, and if they happen to have a horrible husband, as they aren't allowed to choose, then they are at risk of being forfeited or sent away to work in what sounds like kind of labour camps, and some of these women are never seen again. On top of this, I really like the theme of other women, whether it's the dressmakers or the mothers or the friends or the any countless of women in the book are all trying to make other women conform to the Cinderella story. Everyone wants to go to that ball and be chosen by their prince. However, it's not the case for everyone. In the case of Sophia, she wants to be with her friend, and in the case of many other women, they are partnered with men who are awful to them and abuse them and hate them. And I really liked that it showed that women were in the wrong for conforming to this and for forcing others to conform to this, and Sophia stands up to her mother for making her do it. I also like that at the point where Sophia could start changing this small town, there's a uprising of men going, well, we should have a vote, we should have an opinion. And these were the same men that were actively participating in the mistreatment of women in this town, and they were rightly told that they were not allowed to have an opinion on this matter, as they had tried to buy women and to hurt others. I thought it was a really good theme overall, that women are stronger than people may be led to believe, and that their voices should be heard and they should be allowed to speak up and to make their own life decisions outside of a man's opinion. Overall, I found Cinderella is Dead to be a really nice quick read. I managed to read it in just under a day. I loved it so much I just had to get to the end of it. My only real issue was that I didn't understand the main character being the main character, but it really didn't affect my enjoyment of the book, and I really enjoyed the rest of the characters throughout. Plus, I enjoyed how all the characters developed in the book and how they became stronger together as women instead of being defeated on their own at home. I'd recommend it to anyone who likes kind of book retellings and anyone that likes retellings that have a bit of a darker edge to them. If you've read anything like To Kill a Kingdom, I think you'd enjoy this. Although I would point out that there's a limited use of magic, as none of our main characters are magic wielders. However, there is a fairy godmother who does have some tricks up her sleeve. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again next week.